Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. We are live on Friday night, and we are reviewing, well, very briefly the game week just gone, but more previewing game week 31 because we've got assistant manager chips in play. We've got Bigman fresh off a wild card, Dean on the assistant manager chip, and me with Enzo Fernandez in my team. Come on, hello to all the chasers. First up, Dean, how are you doing? It's a big week for you with that assistant manager chip.
It is, mate. Look at you with that backdrop, and I've just got a light switch in the background.
I've got a big old light switch up there.
how times changed since I leave San Diego. But yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. The wild card or mild card, as I just saw it referred to in the chat, wasn't great, but it was okay. Got 55 points from the game week. So whatever, it's fine. Obviously, I've just said I'm 1 point ahead of you, mate. 1 point. So yeah, this is a big assistant manager chip for me. If I'm going to beat you this season, you're on mute.
I so need to get used to that. Bloody church bells. Big man, how did your wild card go?
Hello, Gianni. Hello, Dean. Hello, welcome to all the listening viewers. It went all right. I mean, I scored, I think, 53, 54. Wasn't the greatest of wildcards, but I got a green arrow in pretty much all of my mini leagues, rose in rank as well. So it went all right. But the main purpose of the wildcard was to, ensure that I was in a position to put 11 out last week and then be in a position where I can attack the blanks and doubles later. And I feel as if I'm relatively well set for it. I'm glad I picked Evanilson. That was one thing that worked well. I didn't have Mateta. I was close to picking João Pedro, but in the end, I went with Evanilson. So I'm really happy with that call. But apart from that, it was fairly a standard template wildcard, and not much to talk about because it was a nothing week, right? There weren't any big gains that anyone made, or I didn't think anyone lost too much ground either. So it was a bit of a write-off week for most.
Yeah, good summary that, I think. I mean, you two were on wildcards. And I outscored. I mean, I'm just taking a moment here because it doesn't happen much. I got 57 points and you guys hit the wildcard button. I didn't, so I'll take that. But yeah, great shout there on Evanilson, mate. I like that. I saw Let's Talk FPL made the same move, went without Mateta and went Evanilson. In fact, I often think you and Andy are quite similar in your choices. I don't know if you've noticed that before, Big Man, but I'd noticed that quite often. And not necessarily a template choice there. Going against Mateta was very against the templates. That was brave of you because he hit the bar like in the first 2 minutes against Southampton. That could have been a very different result for Mateta if that goes in.
Absolutely. And yes, I mean, generally I do watch Andy's videos. I noticed that our teams are somewhat similar. It's usually in the captaincy where we go differently. He went with Marmoush this week. I went with Salah, and it has happened a few times in the past as well. But yeah, it's always nice to keep an eye on managers who I like to follow.
Yeah, nice. Dean, in today's video, we got to talk about Gabriel replacement and we've got to talk about captaincy. They're two of the biggest topics I feel this week. Just going back to your wildcard, did you go Gabriel in the end? And did you go for Man City defence? Because they've kept 3 clean sheets in the last 6 now. And I know most wildcarders went Gvardiol. And again, that was a game that the wildcarders had on me. All on wildcard seemed to go Gvardiol and I was left without City backline. Well, Rico Lewis, but doesn't really count.
Yeah, so I bought in Raya and got rid of Gabriel, which in hindsight has worked out quite nicely for the wild card. So that's good. I did have Gvardiol as well, yeah, so I got 6 points for Gvardiol. I mean, I brought him in for Luca Dean, so I think I'd have got the same. Like, maybe what did Luca Dean end up with? I don't know, but it was not a massive difference. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have that much uplift on people. I had Mbermo, who a lot of people had ditched at this point, so that was handy. And I had Rodgers come into my midfield as well. Bruno Fernandes let me down with only 2 points. And, as predicted, Southampton, as soon as they went 1-0 up against Crystal Palace, I joked about that, didn't I, on the last show? And it happened. So, yeah, it's fine. Like, the wild card for me, obviously, was played because I had the assistant manager chip coming up, and it was about preparing for that as much as it was just trying to get last week sorted. So it's probably still going to prove worthwhile for me.
Yeah, nice. And Big Man, for those on wildcard that had Gabriel, but some had Aina as well, like how does that affect your thinking moving forward? Because you would have had a plan in place, not only for the wildcard, but for future weeks with preparation for doubles and bench boosts and double 32, double 33 has now been confirmed since we last streamed as well. It's all what we thought it would be. How does the Gabriel move affect you and other wildcarders?
I don't think it changes much in the short run, actually, because when you look at our teams, almost all of us have set ourselves up for the bench boost. So we have a deep bench to cover for his absence this week. It's more about having to make that extra transfer, let's say next week or the week after, which is annoying. But it's all right. I mean, people with, let's say, Raya and Gabriel, they have the option to go with Saliba. I actually went with Saliba and Gabriel. I didn't have Raya, so I can potentially do a bit different and go for someone like Timber or maybe Ruben Diaz in a couple of weeks' time because I don't have a third city. So yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a disaster, but it's annoying nonetheless.
How do you feel about the Timber shout, big man? Because he also went off injured, but we know his injury isn't as serious. It's not like Gabriel is out for the season. What do we know about Timber? And from today, do we fancy Timber to keep starting games? And what's the update on Ben White as well? Do you know?
I think Timber will start. I think after Saliba, he's probably the best Arsenal defender to buy. He's a bit of a doubt this week, and I can't really trust Arteta. But if I was to guess, I would expect him to start. I'm just not sure whether I'm completely set on him over Ruben Diaz, though, because I think there's a chance by gameweek 32 or 33, I might want someone like Ruben Diaz instead. But I think for people without Saliba, getting Saliba is a fairly straightforward choice.
What do you reckon, Dean? Selling Gabriel to Saliba, or what if you don't own like Gvardiol, or don't own a Forest defender, or don't own some of the other names we just mentioned? Like, where would you be at with your Gabriel number one replacement? And then let's all do our rankings of top three.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're going to replace Gabriel coming up, I guess you'd be looking at who's going to double soon, wouldn't you? Like that would probably be your best way for compensating for what you might have got from him coming up. So that's probably first and foremost. I'd be looking at those teams with those fixtures. So, likes of Newcastle, for example, on Palace. Like, if you didn't already have Munoz, then I think you just go over to that, for example. That'd probably be my first look. I don't think I would be looking to necessarily replace a Gabriel with Saliba.
Arsenal's defense is weaker now without Gabriel. Has to be mentioned, doesn't it?
And I'm pleased that I've got Raya after ditching Gabriel because he's injured, but it's obviously a much bigger task now for Raya to keep a clean sheet. And obviously now as well, Arsenal's focus is about to shift, and we're about to get them going into those 2 Real Madrid games. And that's not easy to manage in such a short space of time with these Premier League games, which are kind of redundant now. Liverpool's win over Everton kind of makes Arsenal's Premier League run redundant. I'm not that interested in Arsenal assets. Saka has become interesting for sure. Comes off the bench, suggested he might, and was still worth your pick. The other day I was like, I wouldn't count on him starting because it seems too much of a gamble. And I'd say that for the same again this week. I don't think he needs to start the next game, but I don't necessarily still think he's a bad FPL pick because he's still probably the best player on the pitch once he does come on. And
got 2 bonus, 24 minutes.
Did you get 2 bonus? Yeah, exactly. And that was my fear really with that fixture. So you'd imagine there's a pretty high chance of more minutes this week and possibly more returns.
Yeah, okay. All right, big man, summarise on Arsenal replacements. Rank your top 3. I'll give an attempt with mine. I'd still go Munoz 1. I think Gvardiol with 3 and 6 for City clean sheets, and Gvardiol just being absolutely nailed. And then Newcastle, Livermore or Burn, if you don't own 3 Newcastle and you've got a spare Newcastle spot, I like their home double game week. And then they've got Ipswich and they're not too distant.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't mentioned all those players because a significant majority of people who wildcarded have wildcarded into Triple Palace. Yeah. So a lot of them don't have a Munoz slot available, or they already own him in the first place. Yeah. And similarly with Guardiola as well, a lot of people I saw Guardiola in literally every other wildcard team. So these are players who I would expect a lot of people to own. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fairly simple for me. If you don't own Saliba, you get Saliba. If you own Saliba, you probably wait a week, use your bench, and then make a transfer next week.
Yeah, okay, nice. Guys, Dean, let you decide where we go next. Do we do assistant manager chat or do we do captaincy? They're two big topics. And guys in the chat, any big topics you want us to cover, let us know in the chat. We're reading all your comments. FPL Freddy says Konza for a defender. Don't mind that at all. Dean, where should we go next?
I'm going to be selfish, mate. I want you to talk about assistant manager.
Come on. A few are on it, though. A fair few are on it.
Yeah. No, it made sense for a lot of people. If you'd kept this in your back pocket from last time, I was obviously, it was a big call for me not to play that chip when you two played it.
Yeah.
And once it was over, I was a little bit regretting not just kind of mirroring what you were, one or other of you was doing, because it would have just kept me ahead of you, basically, or at least much closer to Bigman. But I'd already decided I was going to do this. So I thought, nope, don't be a copycat, stick to your guns. So here we are. I stuck to my guns. Played my wild card, and now I go into this. My wild card was obviously dressed up with that double game week in 32 in mind. And I guess the big question for me is, am I going to be swapping managers during these 3 weeks or not? And it's a tough call, because I could just sit on Glasner, and I think a lot of people who are playing this chip now will just sit on Glasner.
Yeah.
But I don't know in this game week 31 that I want Glasner. I don't know that that's the play that I really want to make. So I have to admit, right now, I'm torn. I
like 31 and 32 for Howe. Leicester away, Man United and Palace. The problem with Howe is, I think they can score big points in those weeks because you get points for goals and clean sheets as well as the wins. And I expect 2, maybe even 3 wins there. The problem with Howe is there's no bonus for those 3 fixtures. When we look at Glasner, 5 games here, I mean, take Brighton even out of the equation, 4 games from 32 to 33, it's bonus for City, Newcastle and Arsenal. That's 3 of the 4 games or 3 of the 5 games for Glasner. And as we've seen before with this chip, for me, it's all about chasing bonus. So I think I would probably just risk Glasner for the 3, or even consider Howe for the first one, get the away banker for Leicester, and then pivot to Glasner.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, what are Brighton 4 places above Palace? So it was close. It was close.
Yeah. And if Palace didn't get the draw, that might have meant, I didn't look, that might have even meant that you could have been in 5 places, and therefore, well, Brighton and Palace results dependent. It could have made
obviously, like Brighton lost to Villa 7th as well. So Villa beat Brighton. So that didn't help. If Brighton could have picked up a result, that would have been handy. But nevertheless, this is where I sit. I mean, obviously, like, if I'm just going to chase the win, then I go Eddie Howe. And if I go Eddie Howe, then I think I would.
Or would you go Arteta in 33 from Howe? Because you could go Howe 31, 32, and then Arteta in 33, because he is a great double. It means no bonus over those 5 fixtures, but you still get a 5.
Yeah, exactly. I just think, like, looking at wins, I would look at Howe over Leicester, Man United and Palace, and then flip it over to Glasner for Bournemouth and Arsenal. But I don't really think that's the right play, but that's kind of like where my mind wants me to go. But that's just looking at wins. And you obviously point out that it's not just wins that are worth chasing here. I don't know. You two have got experience from playing this chip, and I haven't.
Where you at?
What I assume
different approaches.
Yeah.
Dean, I assume when you wildcarded in 30 with the view of using the chip in 31, you went with 2 Palace instead of 3 just to have that Glasner slot available?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It feels like you've got to use it.
I know.
So, I mean, that reason alone should probably make you sort of feel compelled to use it. But I think I would, I mean, given that you don't own him and then you can potentially save a transfer as well, I think I would just use it on Glasner. Even though I think when you look at the fixtures, I mean, Gianni rightly pointed out Howe as being the banker. I think if you're looking for the highest upside this week, you can potentially even look at someone like a Potter at home to Bournemouth.
Yeah,
I think Bournemouth season is pretty much done. I mean, they've been knocked out of the cup. You can see that they don't exactly have much to play for. So I would expect West Ham to probably get a win tomorrow, and with the table bonus that could lead to big points. But having said that, I think the smart play, given the position you're in, is to probably go with Glasner. I think
if you don't go Glasner, Dean, you in 32 you could buy a Palace player. If you don't go Glasner, for me, you have to own a third Palace asset for 32 and 33 because you got double. So I guess that would form part of my thinking. Like, do you have a spot in your team where you go, that could allow me to buy an Eze or Sar, whatever, Mateta? I can't remember who you've got, but I mean,
I've got Mateta. Yeah, I've got Mateta.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Where would you go? It's a real. I feel like when me and Bigman went, we went the same weeks. There was the school of thought of you go Slot and Arteta, which was what Bigman did, or you go Moyes and Emery and Glasner. It was like a very clear path. You're chasing bonus and you're going Moyes, Emery, Glasner, or you're going safe with Slot and Arteta. And both combinations got good points. The riskier side did get more points. I got 56 points. It was one of the successes of my season.
Yeah.
And I just think back to that every time. And Glasner is a manager that can cause upsets. When we look at those games, the annoying thing is the games he can't get bonus, Brighton and Bournemouth, they're no gimmies. They're hard games. And it's like, you're backing a manager here in what feels like a coin toss game where you can't even get bonus in Brighton and Bournemouth. But it would be so Glasner to cause an upset against an Arsenal or a Newcastle or a City. So I think I'm with Bigman. I'd just go straight to Glasner and save the transfers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you two study this game so closely. From the last time you played, it was when everyone basically assistant manager chipped before now. What was the best route? Was it chasing the bonus or was it chasing the more likely results? Who came out better?
Look, I went with Slot. I went with Slot. I remember Gianni went with
Moyes.
Emery and Moyes, right? You basically went
Moyes,
with Moyes.
Glasner, I think I went in that order.
Then you went with Moyes and Glasner. So you used, I assume, 2 extra transfers. I went with Slot throughout. I don't think I changed him. I actually went Slot for the 3 weeks. And I remember I got close to 40 points. I think Gianni got close to 50.
Yeah, 56 I got. But as you say, I used 2 transfers. So in a way, it's -8.
Exactly. So, I mean, the net result was that Gianni profited by 6 to 7 points. Either way, it wasn't a huge swing, but I think you should just generally target the managers with the table bonus. In your position, though, hypothetically, if you pick someone else this week, as Gianni rightly pointed out, in game week 32, you look at your team, you'll see you don't have any Palace, and you'd probably want any Palace. So you'd either swap the manager to Glasner or you use a transfer on a Palace player. So you're booking in a transfer. If you get Glasner right now, then next week you can do anything with your team.
Yeah.
You got really interesting. You
also have to keep in mind that by game week 33, we might want Saka as well. So, all these transfers will pile up, and if you don't sort of end up making them meticulously, it might sort of help lead to taking hits, which obviously isn't great.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got 2 Newcastle players as well.
You kept that route open as well.
So I kept that open as well. So I kept Newcastle open as well as Palace. And it's interesting, like listening to the amount of points that you got. I just checked to see how many points I am away from Bigman, and I'm 41 points short of where Bigman is. So, like, that's made me feel a little bit better, but also puts more pressure on getting this right because, like, he's setting the pace, like, for me. Like, that's where I could be if it all went well. And it sounds like from what people are writing in the chat as well, I saw FPL Freddy said got 44 points, I think, from the thing. So it seems like that 40 to 50 bracket, maybe even not as high as 50, maybe mid-40s, 40 to 45 is kind of what you can get out of this. And so I don't want to be too risky here because now I know that that's what I've got to get to. So what is... Now my thinking is like, what's the most achievable route to 40 points out of these fixtures?
Arteta. But yeah, it probably is in 33. I mean, I think you go, because you've got the spare Newcastle spot, the beauty is this week, Newcastle have Leicester, and next week they've got a double. So if you do commit to Glasner now, I would make your transfer this week a Newcastle player. So again, that gives you a player versus Leicester and a double game week. So yeah, I mean, loads. If you still have got your assistant manager chip available, consider using it this week. This is the best time between now and the end of the season, I think. And this graphic, shout out producer, certainly highlights that. And Dean, I know why you wanted this made now. It certainly helps your decision moving.
This is great, yeah.
You see it like this, doesn't it? So yeah. I still like Glasner, but there is an option of going Howe and switching to Arteta for 33, or even a combination of 3 of them. But yeah. For me,
but sticking to Glasner, it's 5 games. Someone just said that. Yeah, F pool.
3 bonus in there.
L. Yeah. So is it better to go for the 5 games? Like, is that safer? Is that just the easiest thing to do?
Save your transfers as well, because they will be so important. We do have blanks and doubles to navigate. You'll want to get to 33 and go, I want to get another doubler in, and you won't have to take a hit if you've saved a transfer here. So,
I like Lou. I mean, my maths is terrible, so I'm not even going to attempt this. Bigman's the accountant here; he can probably do the maths on it quickly. But like, if I stuck on Glasner, as you look at that, those 5 games that are lined up for him, if I was to just stick, what's the worst case you can see me coming out of that with? Like, what's the I know it could be a disaster. You can't predict that, but like as imaginable from what we've seen. Yeah, what's the floor?
You're asking on the floor, right?
Yeah.
The ceiling is 60 and the floor is 25?
To 25?
Bare minimum. Bare minimum. Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, they get beaten by City, they get beaten by Arsenal, they maybe get beaten by Newcastle, and they get 2 wins.
Yeah, and that's still those wins are going to be 10-pointers and you or 8-pointers, and you'll still get the goals versus City. You'll get a draw. You'll get a draw if you don't get the bonus 10 versus City, Newcastle, and Arsenal. You'll get a draw in there, which is still a bonus 5, and that bonus 5 for a draw is awesome. Like if you're involved in a 0-0 draw, that's straight away. What's that? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's about 10 points. So
that's it. So
I like it. The floor is 0, says ZM.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the floor is 0.
Dean, I would like to mention though that. Even though both of us scored close to 40 points, Gianni got 50, I got 40. You might be thinking that 40 is actually the threshold, but I actually don't feel as if it is, because there were some results in there which I remember. For example, where Everton scored late, drew against Liverpool. That was a very fortuitous result. Similarly, in my team, I had Slot away to City, which again wasn't an amazing fixture. Liverpool ended up winning 2-0, and I got lucky with the result. So there will be occasions where you need a bit of luck, and there is a scenario where the systematic could lead to like 20-25 points, and it may not fall as well as you'd expect it to. So I won't exactly expect 40 or 45 points from it. I would keep it a bit more realistic to, let's say, 25 to 30 points, because I feel as if 30-ish points is where it's probably going to land.
Yeah, I just find that interesting because it's not really something I thought of before we're coming on the show. I wasn't really like, okay, well, how can I just do what they did? And like, is that enough?
Yeah, it's the best chip because of the numbers we're talking about.
I mean, a lot of points, yeah.
Christian said ceiling is almost 80. The ceiling and the floor, guys, isn't 0 and the max possible you could get by winning 10-0 every week. It's realistic, right? So it's, as we're saying, 25, 30, 50, 60. All I'll say, though, is when the Premier League dropped the rule of the assistant manager chip, they used Oliver Glasner from around this time last season as an example of how many points you can get. He had a double-double. We had 5 game weeks, and he got in their article, if you go on the Premier League website, you'll see it now, the example they used of if things go right for you and you get the best manager with bonus and he causes the upsets, you get a double-double. It was Glasner, and I think it was something like 70 points, their example. Glasner's done it then. He's done it when I did it 2 months back, and he could do it again now. I think he's the best shout. Dean, maybe when we get to your team, you can give us your answer on where you're most likely to go. So stay tuned for that. I feel that we should talk captaincy next. Go on, Bigman.
I think before we sort of proceed, I think it's about time you go online and order yourself a Crystal Palace jersey. I think it's going to be well in the next few weeks.
Oh man, honestly, I'm like sat here just. It scares me a little bit. Obviously, I just drawn with Southampton, which slightly concerns me because I'm like, are they now just looking at this FA Cup semi-final? Like, is there a possibility that Palace's season actually is hinging on a date at Wembley and that they just capitulate in the league over these 3 game weeks? It could happen. But also, I guess there's that side where like you want to play yourself into the team for that, don't you? You want to make sure that you're playing in that Wembley occasion. And so actually these games are really important for, even the players on the fringes, but also the star men to be ready to make their mark. I don't know. It's a very tough call.
That Palace 11 is more fixed than most teams, but teams like Villa, you're right. Like if you're Aston Villa, if you're Watkins and Rashford and you're going, who's going to start number 9? It is huge for that. You're right. And the league form does matter. Okay, guys, thank you all for all your comments. We're loving this. Harry says realistic is 1 win, 1 draw, 3 losses, maybe. Dean in the same boat as you with this. Someone said earlier, I think it was Zate Goal, My favorite long form content. Oh no,
It
ZM
was
Storm.
Storm, yeah.
Love that. Thank you guys. Really
No,
appreciate that.
very cool.
It's my favorite long form content on FPL as well. So I really appreciate the shout out there. Let's move on to captaincy. We were split last week, weren't we? We were split on the Salah versus Marmoush. Dina, did you go Salah in the end?
Yeah.
And Big Man went Salah. I went Marmoush. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount in it because we all own both those players. Like going Marmoush would have been amazing if Big Man didn't own him, but the fact he still got those 9, it didn't really. It was 6-7 points in it in total. By the way, Marmoush, something like 9 shots, 3 on target, 2 off target, 4-5 blocked. It was an awesome performance. His XGI was around 1.5. Marmoush owners might see it as a little bit unlucky. He missed a couple of big chances. But where are we at this week? Because I think Isak versus Salah is a similar argument, a similar like 50-50 split. We'll do a poll. Isak, Salah or other, get voting in the poll on those 3. I mean, Big Man, where are you at? And should we talk about Isak's availability first? Because I think we've got Eddie Howe's press conference quote there as well.
Yes, we should. But honestly, I have no idea where I'm at. I think this is going to be a really, really challenging week when it comes to the captaincy. If I knew that Isak would play a similar number of minutes to, let's say, Palmer, Salah, etc., I think I would captain Isak fairly comfortably. And I had actually penciled in Isak as my captain when I wildcard in 30, but that news of the niggle, it is a bit concerning. And I mean, we did get an update from Eddie Howe, but I'm not sure if it adds much. You can see it in the graphic. He mentioned that, they'll wait and see. I would expect, because the game is on Monday, that he should start. I mean, I'd expect him to, but I think that the risk of him getting subbed earlier is higher than usual. He got subbed around the 67-minute mark against Brentford. I mean, if I knew that he'd play 67 minutes, I don't think I'd captain him against Leicester. I would want a higher piece of that because, yes, it's Leicester and they're terrible, but I mean, it's generally late on in the game where the game sort of opens up, and that's where the players really get their chances to haul. So I don't think 67 minutes this week would be enough for me, which is why I think Isak is not someone I would probably look at. I think it's more between Salah and Palmer for my team.
Wow.
And I'm not sure which way I'd go.
I just it's Leicester are terrible, right? Dreadful.
Operation Target Leicester.
It should be, shouldn't it?
That's where I've been for weeks, mate.
I think that there's a possibility Leicester are worse than Southampton. Right?
Agreed.
Everyone's talking
Current
about
form, yes.
Southampton getting the worst points record. At the moment, Leicester are actually worse.
Season-long Southampton, last 10, since Van Nistelrooy.
Yes, Van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy, I don't even know what to say about Van Nistelrooy at the moment. He's not the man for a club. I think he might think he's above Leicester City. I think that might be part of the problem here. But I've got to back Isak to score against Leicester because do we feel like Isak either gets a long stretch of game or no part of the game?
Yeah, he either starts or he doesn't feature. You ain't putting a 10-minute cameo against Leicester.
I don't think so either. So that's why I'm like, surely I just go captain Isak and vice captain Salah.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
I think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, because
my concern is not about him starting or not. My concern is about him getting subbed earlier than usual, and that's still something which doesn't exactly sit right with me.
That would need, though, Big Man, a recurrence of the injury, which you'd be unlucky, and you'd think he wouldn't stress that injury if he wasn't right going into the game and then just wouldn't be in the squad. I don't think you need to bring him off at 67 if he's feeling fine, because their next game isn't till the Sunday. They play Monday, so he's got 5 days to recover from when he got hooked 2 nights ago. 5 days, the benefit from the fact it's Monday Night Football against Leicester. And then it's Sunday versus Man United. He's got a full week. So I think he can play 80, 90 minutes. Of course, if he could get injured, sure. Yeah. But I don't think he puts
I would like to argue that if, let's say, Newcastle are 1 or 2-0 up and it's the 70-minute mark, I see little reason for him to continue playing Isak when he's just coming on the back of a niggle. That's what I'm trying to allude to.
Okay, so Isak's got a history of this, right? We've seen it's a groin issue and we've seen him, it's a recurrence of the injury. But we've also seen in the last few games, I don't know off the top of my head what his minutes were, but there has been games he's missed recently or come off early. And I include, by the way, the EFL Cup final. Isak came off, with 10 minutes to go? He wasn't, and I remember looking at that going, there's no way he'll play in the international break. I thought, like, don't go play for Sweden. And I think he played in both games for Sweden. And he came off in that EFL Cup final, I'm sure of it. Someone might need to check.
He played 80 minutes in the EFL. He played 80 minutes in the Cup final. Yeah.
Again, there was a niggle there. There's no way he comes off early if there's no niggle. But he was still fine to go and play 2 games for Sweden. When we look at his minutes in the last few games, before that, West Ham, 78 minutes. He then didn't play versus Liverpool in 27. But before that, 86, 89, 90. Like, I think he starts. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. And I think he gets 75 plus, maybe 80 plus.
Yeah. Or he comes off on 60 because he's banged a hat-trick. I mean, I think I am going to go there. Storm, thank you very much. This Dean's early season advice. Blimey, someone's giving me money for my advice. One second, lads. Let me just gloat in this moment. Of just sticking as long as possible and not making reactionary changes has been the mantra. Currently 7,734. I owe it to paying more attention to CGA. Oh my goodness. This is what we stick on the banner, lads. This is the quote. This is the quote we needed. He's owing it to us.
He did on the interface before game week 1.
Honestly, I think I've actually done a bit better. The reason I'm within 40 points of Bigman is probably because I haven't been taking as many hits this season, to be honest. I haven't been as reactionary. So I'm glad
it's because you've got Bigman for advice.
Yeah,
you only had me before that.
That's true. That's true. The other thing to point out about Leicester is their expected goals every week. Against Man City, it was 0.02. A couple of games before that, it was 0.10. Like, I feel like I should probably get another Newcastle defender.
Mate, they've not scored in 7 Premier League games. That's the stat for me. They ain't scored in 7 Premier League games. You face Leicester and you can guarantee 2 things. Your defenders keep a clean sheet and your attackers score goals. Like that, it's Isak. I'm buying a Newcastle defender and I'm captaining Isak. It's Operation Target Leicester and it has been for some time. That's why I went Marmoush. And I honestly, I don't like to give strong opinions on stuff like captaincy where it's a 50-50 split. But last week, I called you both out on why are you not going City when you were going Haaland, but you wouldn't go Marmoush? Because I was like, it's the number 9 versus Leicester. And yes, Marmoush isn't a Haaland. He isn't as good at finishing, although this season you'd argue his finishing's been better than Haaland's. It's the same for Isak. If he's going to start, even if worst case scenario, he got 60, like, come on, he's going to get points. It's Leicester.
Yeah, but the other problem is, are Leicester due a goal? And what if Isak doesn't play? Like, if Oliver Skip puts Leicester 1-0
you get Salah anyway,
and Isak isn't playing or comes off after 10 minutes because he's picked up an injury, it's all backfired. That's the problem with football.
Let's talk about Salah versus Fulham, though. Big man, that's where you're probably going. Or is it Palmer versus Brentford? Which of the 2 do you like most out of those 2, and where's your head at?
Look, Salah is obviously the safer choice. The bookmaker's favorite is score assists between the 2.
Oh, let's see those Rob T assists as you're talking, big man. The Rob T graphic, which helped the bookmaker odds. Carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So I feel as if, because I'm relatively content with where I'm at, I think I will probably go with Salah. But I am considering Palmer. And if I'm feeling, let's say, more adventurous tomorrow morning, I may change to Palmer. I think if you're chasing, there is a good argument for going with Palmer. If you look at the projected goals this week, Chelsea and Liverpool, both of them are relatively similar. So there is an argument to pick Palmer as well. I don't think a lot of people will, because he's sort of been out of form. He played better last night, but I highly doubt that anyone will go Palmer from the field. And I would imagine that the significant majority of managers you're competing with will go with either Isak or Salah. From those 2, I think I'd go with Salah.
Are Fulham on the beach? Nikolai says, I don't think they are. They can get European football, can't they, Dean? Like, I look at the table and Fulham currently in 9th. They're only 5 points off, 3 points off Villa in 7th. Like, that's very much we can get European football territory for Fulham.
If they can pull off a result here, yeah. I think if this goes sour, then Fulham's season kind of dies. So it has a bit of, like, kind of cup final feel about it. You're hosting the Premier League leaders. You've just suffered a really bad cup result and you've gone to Arsenal and suffered a bit of a demoralising defeat there. But they've pulled off big results before. They've competed with Liverpool many times before in the last couple of years. And there's a possibility here because, European football is still achievable. And that is all that is achievable in their season. And defeat here probably kills it. I think if they lose here, then it ain't going to happen. So there's a small chance. I mean, they're just not playing. They're not playing badly. They're not playing as well as they were earlier in the season. Would be the way I would dress it up. There's a few Fulham fans, thankfully mainly online rather than in the stadium, but that are turning on Marco Silva a bit and saying he's taken them as far as he can. He's doing this wrong. He's doing that wrong. And I think that's a bad take. I think
what you wish for, Jesus,
absolutely. I think that would be a bad take. There's absolutely no chance for them. Obviously, sack Marco Silva. So hopefully he can prove those people wrong and find a result. Christian says a Liverpool on the beach. I mean, what do they need to win the league? 13 points.
Salah's never been on the beach. Footballing terms, Salah's all about individual accolades. He's on. There's goals totals. There's all sorts to play for still for Mo Salah. I mean, Big Man, what's your take there on Liverpool on the beach and Salah slowing down at the end of the season? Because some are going with that narrative.
Yeah, I think if let's say Liverpool were 5 or 6 points adrift of Arsenal, I think there would be quite a few Liverpool fans who'd feel nervous about the title race. But I think it's pretty much done, and I don't think Salah's the kind of guy, like you mentioned, who's going to stop scoring because he's going to be chasing those accolades. Haaland is out injured as well, so I think that should work well in the favor. I do think that Fulham's season is pretty much up though as well. I mean, ever since they lost to Palace in the cup, I mean, I mentioned very similar for Bournemouth. I think these are the kind of teams I would actually look to target quietly from now on till the end of the season. Well, there are others that I actually like. For example, West Ham I would expect to do well, Palace to a certain extent. I mean, these are certain teams which have something to play for. So, yeah, I think I'd go with Liverpool to win here and Salah to do well.
Okay, so where are we at with captain? Dean, where was the poll at? I can't view the YouTube chat. So where's everyone at? I'm pretty sure I'm going Isak captain, Salah vice captain.
Yeah, the captaincy poll said Isak 62%, Salah 25%.
How many others? So a fair few are looking at Palmer, I'd expect. I would say, after watching the game last night, Chelsea did look good, but it was Spurs. We have to remember that. Brentford will give them a stronger opposition in Brentford, especially at the G-Tech. But I still don't think I'd be captaining Cole Palmer. Like, genuinely, Enzo's as good an FPL option as Cole Palmer at the minute. There's not much in it. Enzo is, I tell you what, Enzo for some time has been Chelsea's best player by a country mile. He is showing his price tag. Like, I promise you, I'm not reacting to the goal. He's been in my FPL team for a while. He's been unlucky to be blanking. He is playing so well at the minute. Like, I can't see Enzo staying at Chelsea long. Like, he looks like a Real Madrid player to me. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you'll have Andre Santos to come in, mate, if you lose.
True.
Enzo.
Strasbourg captain at 21, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've got him being prepped over there just in case of that scenario. But yeah, Chelsea definitely looking stronger in that respect.
Captaincy then, guys, where are you at? Conclusion.
I'm going to go to I think I'll be surprised if I don't pick Isak. I'll say that.
Yeah, Big Man.
I mean, I think I'd probably go with Salah, but I am considering Palmer as well. I think Salah, Palmer, Isak in that order. I mean, I could pick any one of them, to be very honest, but if I was picking one right now, I'd go with Salah.
Big Man, is Isak a tricky vice captain, just in case something happened to Salah and you're like, I can't go Isak vice captain?
There's no chance. I'm sweating till Monday night waiting for that to happen. I would much rather have someone else.
So we swerve Isak with vice captain, but this is a week where you've got to think about your vice captain if you're going Isak. Nice one. Okay, good stuff. Enjoyed that chat. Thank you as always, guys, and thank you to everyone in the chat. We are 39 minutes in, and I haven't asked you all one major thing. If you're watching on catch up, if you're watching on live, please just check that you're subscribed to the channel. There are so many that watch every week that aren't actually subbed. The benefits to subscribing, yes, you help us out, but more, you control the YouTube algorithm. If you're subbed, you'll get shown our videos in future. And if you're watching now, I expect you quite like our videos. So thank you guys for the support. Hit the subscribe button, and obviously like the stream if you're already subbed.
Yeah, just a quick one on Newcastle too. You just mentioned it, but I think it was almost when it passed maybe people by that Isak is a doubt right now, but it's Friday and his game is Monday, and then they don't play for I think it's
Sunday.
Might be a week.
Man United.
Yeah, so then they've got 6 days until their next game. So I think that raises the chances even more of him being available for that one.
Yeah. we've got some other graphics to show which will dictate our schedule. So I'm going to just react to what we see, but we've got things like the schedule, we've got the most transferred in players. So that's going to dictate where we go to next. But we'd love a little bit of time for your questions as well. So stay tuned for that. And I can see loads of you are hitting that like button. So thank you for that, guys. If you're watching on catch up, drop a comment in the video as well. And we'll try and get back to you this evening. So, or even tomorrow morning, possibly. So yeah, where should we go to next? Let's have a look. Most transferred in for the second week in a row. Hang on, was it these three last week? No, it was Bruno, Marmouche, and Isak last week. I think,
Bruno,
Bigman. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Big numbers on these three, though, considering Mateta blanked. I mean, they're right to buy him, but you worried about Mateta, big man?
I wouldn't say necessarily worried because he has been playing like consistently getting those 70, 80 minutes, sometimes even 90 before this week's substitution. So it was genuinely a surprise to me. I think he's an easy hold if you have him. You probably just assess him in the weeks to come. But if I was wildcarding this week, I want to talk a bit about the wildcard as well. I don't think I'd pick him actually because I see a few other. I actually like the structure which has the cheap forward, like something like my structure, but maybe someone like a João Pedro over Evan Nelson. I think Evan Nelson's best fixture is gone, so maybe someone like a João Pedro in his place, and then you can potentially go with Henderson or Munoz.
Let's see my wildcard team and react to that. Dean, I'll get your take on what we think of it, and then Big Man yours too. I have put together a wildcard draft. I've gone a bit risky with players like, we've not spoken about it, but I genuinely think if you've got a spare Newcastle spot, Anthony Gordon probably won't start versus Leicester. I'd be surprised. But we could see Gordon ready for the double. I'd bench Gordon this week if I was on wildcard, and I would have Gordon for that double game week. I think Gordon being slept on. He's 8% owned, Anthony Gordon. On his day, he's the best midfielder in that team by a country mile in terms of FPL. But thoughts on this, Dean? I mean, it's not too dissimilar from yours and Big Man's teams. It's got Saka in it. And Saka's going to be a very popular asset ahead of that double game week for Arsenal in 33.
Yeah, I think it's 5 players different from what I've actually got. I don't have Nico Williams. I don't have Cresswell. And I don't really want either of those two. I haven't got Saka, Eze or Gordon, but I've got all the others. So, yeah, not too dissimilar. And Saka, Eze, and Gordon is obviously quite significant. Like that, I'm not too worried about Williams and Cresswell, but the midfield guys are. I've obviously got Bruno Fernandes, which I don't really want anymore. Go
Gordon, mate. You've got a spare Newcastle spot.
Yes, exactly. So I can go Glasner, assistant manager, and I can transfer in a third Newcastle player, and it would be Gordon in for Bruno Fernandes.
The problem is Gordon's probably he's not going to unlikely to start, but it doesn't matter. Maybe you bench him and he'll get minutes. Big man, where are you at with Gordon? Because yeah, he's a good pick.
He's a good pick. I mean, are you 100% convinced about his minutes going forward though? I think there is a case to be had of picking Murphy over him. I know that Gordon's a much better asset, but there's a significant price difference between them. So I'm not entirely sure whether Gordon's worth the 2.5 million extra. That's what would concern me. From this team, I think coming to the Game Week 31 wildcard, I think the major difference between the Game Week 31 wildcard and the Game Week 30 wildcard has to be the inclusion of Saka. I think if I was wildcarding this week, I would 100% go for Saka. So that's where our sort of thinking aligns, because picking Saka right now does save a transfer later. I think I would pick someone like a João Pedro. I think I would also have Mbomo, because Mbomo is someone you'd want later anyway. He's actually the only sort of single game week player that I actually don't own, who I wish I had, but I didn't have the funds for him. So I know Dean has Mbomo. So he's actually made a very good call picking him. And picking Mbomo right now will sort of save you a transfer later as well, because Brentford's end to the season is actually pretty strong when you look at their fixtures from Game Week 35, 34 onwards.
Yes, actually really he's going to be on my wild card in Burmo, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm wild card in 34, so.
Yeah, so I would actually have Sarr as well in midfield, because if I'm not picking Mateta, I'd have Sarr as well. But apart from that, I would also have Saliba. I firmly believe that Raya, Saliba, and Saka are actually the optimal 3 to pick on the wild card. And I think I would probably have Palmer over Salah as well, because at that price, Salah...
We're not captaining him. much. I mean, you might be this week, but we're not in the much.
Yeah, but even this week, it's a very close call. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's a case to be made for including someone like Palmer over him as well, because Palmer's fixtures over the next two are actually pretty good as well. Brentford away and Ipswich at home.
Yeah, true. Guys, I was asked in the chat, is this a wild card with non-bench boosters? I'm 1974. Yeah. This is I was doing a BBC name check, like Q&A earlier. And when I was asked, what's my perfect wild card? It's really difficult because a wild card when you've still got chips in play moving forward, like bench boost, is a very different wild card to non. So I just did it, forget other chips. What would my wild card be if I had no chips left? Therefore, players like Cresswell are in. They start, they're cheap enablers. This is with my team value as well. So Nico Williams, by the way, just quickly, Nottingham Forest, like, again, another clean sheet versus Man United. They have 13 clean sheets. No team has more. We are sleeping on Forest defenders. We've been saying it all season, yet we're making wildcards without Forest. Again, still haven't learned our lesson in game week 30.
I know. I'm annoyed. I literally did a single video on it. I was just like,
I've heard
we
you
need to
say,
be targeting Forest players. They are the most dependable, reliable team. They're going to make the Champions League. They've got a way of playing. They've got an 11 that works. They've got 3 subs they basically use, and they're going to be successful with it because they're not changing the philosophy. It ain't a fun watch a lot of the time,
God, no.
but it doesn't really matter, obviously, for FPL. And here I am, and I think the only Forest player I've got at the moment is Ole Einar, which is no good to me.
Next season will be a different story, won't it? They'll be in the Champions League. Their squad will be stretched. Teams will know how to play against them. I reckon we'll see a very different Forest. And they're playing.
They'll have a big summer, is the thing. They're going to be very ambitious in the summer, Nottingham Forest. So
Cunha going?
There's a possibility. That's the thing. Like, they'll go for players like that. And if you're Cunha and you're weighing up your options, Nottingham Forest.
Champions League, baby.
Idea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Little man, big man with Chris Wood. I like that. Okay, we'll come off the wild card, guys. We've got to show our teams. Let's get for our teams. We've got 7 minutes left. We'll go quick fire. And I want from you what your most likely transfer is going to be this week. We've done captaincy. We've done quite a bit on the assistant managership. So what will be your most likely transfer when we see the teams in shot? And guys, let us know your thoughts on all the teams we see. Let's get through them.
Let's go.
I'm doing Palmer to Burma after Ipswich, says Derek. Fair play. Palmer to Saka for me, says F. Paul. Heather says Einar in his red flag. Yeah, unfortunate that. Milenkovic on fire. Absolutely. When you look at the top performing defenders in FPL this season, so many of them are Forest players. So we'll show you our teams. We'll get that on screen right now, and we'll go real quick fire so we can still do a couple of questions. Hello, Leo, for joining. If you're just joining, guys, stay with us for the next 5 minutes, then go back and rewatch. This is Dean's team. So where's your most likely transfer if you're making one? It doesn't look like you necessarily need to.
I don't need to. Obviously, like I was just talking then about the fact I could use this opportunity to get another Newcastle player. Obviously, lining up here, I've got Bellegarde starting and I've got Gvardiol and Bruno Fernandes on the bench, which looks a bit odd. But it might not be like stupid. I kind of did it on purpose, like because I was like, is this really dumb? Or could it be fun?
You wouldn't catch me in big man benching Gvardiol, I don't think. But other than the Bellegarde shout, I hear you.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? And I probably won't do it, obviously. But yeah, I think Gvardiol will be more likely to come in than Bruno Fernandes. Big man, actually, you would normally, if ever Bruno Fernandes was to have a fan, then it's you. Would you play Bruno Fernandes or Gvardiol?
Bruno Fernandes, obviously. I mean, I don't think it's...
Would you pick him ahead of him?
Penalty taker over defender, no brainer.
Yeah,
that's...
I'd play Gvardiol over Kirkes, though.
You play both, yeah. You're getting both in, wouldn't you?
You play Gvardiol over Kirkes, that's... Yeah.
I would too.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. You got loads of money in the bank, though. You do have that extra Newcastle spot available, which is interesting. Like, is there a way of going, I go for a Murphy or a Gordon, or I even just sell Einar and buy a Newcastle defender?
True, like, yeah, Einar could just go now, couldn't he? Yeah, Einar could just go.
You know, Leicester aren't scoring against Newcastle. They shouldn't do. They haven't scored in 7, as we mentioned earlier. And Newcastle, you get a double game week next week versus Man United and Palace, both at St James's Park. They're playing for Champions League football. They're on a high. They've not got European involvement at the moment, so they're free most midweeks. Newcastle are a team. That's why I'm going Isak captain. Like, they're on a high at the minute.
Yeah. The Bellegarde is causing a bit of controversy.
If you've been watching Wolves, he's been really good.
This is the thing. Like, I'm scared to bench him because I think he's on the verge of something. And it's like he's playing Ipswich and you've got Tottenham. Bad as each other, right?
The problem
like,
is Ipswich are playing Wolves. That's a good fixture for Ipswich too. You know, like
it is,
Wolves.
yeah. But it could be a really open one. Like, who knows, like, where that will go. So that's why Bellegarde's got into my head a little bit. So we'll see. The truth is, at this stage, I don't know what my transfer is going to be. But there's
this Wolves manager doesn't do open. That's the problem. They are good for clean sheets, though. Like, okay, cool. Good to see Dean. Like seeing that, and we'll see on your Instagram where you go with your Twitter where you go with the assistant manager as well. So love that. Big man, let's see your team and where you're at with your transfer ideas.
Yeah, we're running out of time, so I'll very quickly brief you about my team. I think I will be saving a transfer. I'll play Guardiola over Gabriel. I'll play Martinez over Henderson as well. My captain is still up in the air as per our discussion earlier. The one major benching headache that I have is that I have to bench one of Sarr or Murphy. And
no brainer.
I don't think I can bench Evan Nilsson because he's going to be on pens without Clivert, and he's played 90 minutes in the previous game, so his minutes look good as well. So it has to be between Sarr and Murphy, surely.
I think I'd probably bench Evan Nilsson or maybe Sarr, but Evan Nilsson's had one pen this season. He missed it. I know he's on them, but they're not going to get. It's unlikely they get a pen. Murphy versus Leicester would be one of the first names in on the team sheet for me. Like, you have to get him in. Leicester. Dean?
You're not having Murphy on the bench and not having Isak as captain is not the smartest.
Yeah. Even more reason to get Murphy in.
Yeah.
All those goal combinations between Murphy and Isak, who have good chemistry, by the way.
Yeah. I don't love the Evan Nilsson shout, but I'll toss a coin, really, isn't it?
Oh, Freddie says, I'm benching Rodgers this week again. And guys, that's where I'm at. I benched Rodgers this week. Of course I did. He got 11 points. Like, every time you bench Rodgers, he hauls. Big Man's been there this season as well. So, okay, Big Man, we'll see your team on Twitter as well. But yeah, nice to know you're rolling. You don't need to make a transfer. And that Murphy headache will probably continue till tomorrow. But yeah, captaincy, I think, for you is fairly likely on Salah, which again, solid call. I want your opinion on my team, guys. It's very quick and easy. I'm getting my third Newcastle asset. The plan was, could I sell an Enzo to a Murphy or a Gordon? But then that gives me a benching headache. And also, seeing Enzo play again last night, knowing they've got Ipswich up next, I want Enzo in this team. He's even taken half the corners. He's getting on the end of a lot. Proper box crashing number 8 in a minute. He's being told to do that. And he scored for Argentina against Brazil. So I'm not going to buy a Newcastle midfielder. If I'm not doing that, I need to get a Newcastle asset. Do I sell Pickford and go Pope? Do I sell Pickford and go Raya? Do I sell Mikalenko and go Livramento? So I'm buying either Pope, Livramento or Raya. Big Man, I'll come to you first.
Sorry, what was the question again, Gianni? I missed it.
I'm buying Pope, Raya, one of them for Pickford, or I'm buying Mikalenko. I'm selling Mikalenko to Livramento. I need to get rid of double Everton, and I need to get a Newcastle player in, or I go straight to Raya. But I am wildcarding in 34, so I only need to worry about the next few.
Yeah, I was going to mention that that Pickford doesn't have the best of fixtures, but then I looked at your defense, and that requires some work as well. So that's actually a very tricky call. I think you can potentially get rid of Trent for.
That's what I'm not selling Mikalenko. I'm selling Trent. Yeah.
Yeah, sell Trent for a defender. I think. I won't be surprised to see Everton 0-0 against Arsenal. I think the fixture's all right, and Pickford, if he makes some saves, could get out of that with a haul. So, I think I would probably sell Trent. I think.
I just love Lewis being there, mate. I can't believe Lewis is still hanging around.
I started him as well, and he got a bloody minute, didn't he? And nearly wiped out a Mikalenko clean sheet. Like, you know.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So you're saying Livramento, Big Man?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would do that.
Okay,
I think I'd do that.
I'd actually get Saliba. But You don't want an Arsenal defender, do you?
I've not had an Arsenal
Yeah.
defender since game week 20, mate. I don't do Arsenal defenders.
You go
That
for
price. Okay, nice. By the way, if I do that, I've already got 2.9 in the bank. Trent to Livramento gives me enough money to think about getting Saka in for a budget mid, which is an option for Saka for the double. Although I don't really want to sell Rodgers because he is a double. I don't want to sell Sarr because he is a double, and I can't sell Enzo because I don't have enough money. Guardiola is another option, says Troy. Yeah. How is Lewis still there in game week 30? Guys, he's been my third sub since forever, okay? That's why Rico Lewis is still there. I've not wildcarded. Okay, cool. I think we've run out of time. Big Man and Dean, I know you've probably both got to go. I'm going to stay and do a 5-minute Q&A though, because, well, I've said to the producer, I'll stay if 10 people hit the subscribe button between now and the time you guys go. So if you want me to stay, hit the subscribe button. If you don't want me to stay, don't hit it. If you've already subbed, hit like. And we'll see where... I'm going to sit in silence for 30 seconds and then tell you where we're at. But Big Man, any final thoughts from you?
I'd like to say if we can get to 10 additional subscribers, then I can stay for an additional 5 minutes as well.
Come on.
Oh, look at you two. I can't.
You've got to go, haven't you?
My family are all sat across the road waiting for me for dinner in a pub. And I only see them once a year, so I better go. But thanks for staying, lads. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching as always.
Take care, Dean.
See you, mate. We'll see you
Cheers,
Monday.
lads. Nice one. Yeah, see you Monday.
Enjoy England. Good stuff. Well, Big Man, I can report that we have 3 people that have hit the subscribe button. So we are on our journey to 10. We'll give it another 30 seconds. Let's just, when people are hopefully doing that, Cole Palmer, is he a genuine option? Having spoken about Palmer, has that influenced you more towards Salah? Because obviously I said I wouldn't captain him. You know, I'm a Chelsea fan. I would have watched the game in detail last night. Is Palmer still playing at the back of your mind, or do you think are you like 80% on Salah?
You know what is playing at the back of my mind, and I don't think it should, is the fact that there have been 2 occasions very similar to this this season, 2 game weeks, where I've been in this exact same predicament, where it's, you know, on paper it appeared to be a 50-50 call, and I've gone with Salah, and both times I've come out on the right side of variance where I've benefited, I think, from 10 to 12 points in each week. So I do realize the risk of not going with Salah, especially now that he hasn't scored in 2 weeks. I think he's probably due a goal. And that's what is sort of playing at the back of my mind.
What are Fulham like at home in terms of goals? I'm not sure off the top of my head. They're all right. They're quite solid, are they?
Yeah, they're a decent defense. Defense, but I mean, when you're playing Liverpool, one of the best attacks in the league. So I don't think that really should matter as much. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, guys, we have had 5 of you hit the sub button. I reckon in the next 10 seconds, 5 of you will hit that subscribe button. So thank you guys for supporting. There's loads of new viewers, which is awesome. We get that on a Friday night. So if you're new around here, you can like and subscribe. But I reckon we take some questions. Let's do 4 or 5 minutes, shall we? I just unsub, then resub. Thanks, Paul. That counts. We'll take that. Although don't all do that because that's silly, but whatever. All right, let's do alternate questions. Big Man, you first.
That's a smart way of sending the hardest question of the lot to me. Already
I usually give you the long ones.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm playing Guardiola. I think the Palace Brighton game will be high scoring. I do think Brighton will score. I think there's a chance of City keep a clean sheet. So I think I would edge towards Guardiola, but I'm not entirely sure. What do you reckon, Gianni? I want to hear your opinion as well.
I would go Munoz, but there is a slight at the back of my mind, like, why did he go off so early? And I know Frankie came on and scored, but that's unlike Glasner to sub Munoz so early. I do wonder if there's a slight knock there, or maybe it was just coming back from Colombia, blah, blah, blah. But wouldn't be absolute, I wouldn't fall off my chair if Munoz was injured, but I'm not saying he is. So yeah, I reckon I'd go Munoz. Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Would you prefer double game week 33, Diaz and Martinelli, or Saliba and Savino? I'd go Saliba and Savino. Good question, Bill. Savino was really impressive, by the way.
Christian is asking, will Brentford's style frustrate Chelsea? Christian, this has been something that I've thought long and hard about over the course of the season. I've been a Fleckian owner, and I've thought over different weeks that Brentford will revert to type. They're a solid team defensively. Generally, you always see them in the top 5-6 teams for XG conceded over the past few seasons, but this season is a bit different where they've actually been very leaky, both at home and away. So I think there's this myth about Brentford being a very solid defensive team because they actually haven't been that solid this season.
Fair point. Yeah, I'll go Sarr over Semenyo, just Michael, and we'll make sure we get you some members only videos next week.
So Timber or Guardiola, I think I'd play Timber. I think Arsenal have a better chance of a clean sheet.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest triple defence viable. No, Troy, that is still too heavy. I do think one is a good play. The fixtures aren't amazing, but they will keep cleans.
Yeah, true. Derek is asking who can Arteta play over Kiwior. It's between Ryan at Nouri and Kiwior from me on Wildcard. The thing is that he can pick Ben White on the right. He can play Timber and Saliba as the centre backs, and he can just play what's his name? I forgot the name of the left back.
Yeah, Calafiori. So yeah, Calafiori.
Calafiori or the other guy.
Yeah, Miles Skelly or Zinchenko. Yeah, they've got options. Wait, Calafiori, when he's back fit, will be starting ahead of Kiwior. So Kiwior's a real risky pick. Like Calafiori is a left centre back by trade. Do I go Burn for Hoyson or Pope for Pickford? I actually think Pickford versus Arsenal could get some save points. I don't mind Pickford versus Arsenal, just like he did against Liverpool, right?
Agreed.
Could have kept a clean sheet versus Liverpool. I'd go Burn. Marmoush captain, big man.
I don't think this is the week to do it personally. I think that game could be low scoring, so I'm not sure I'd go there personally.
If you're chasing, I wouldn't be going Potter and Glasner's it's Potter, Glasner. I think I'd still go straight to Glasner and save the transfer if you've got that spare Palace option. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Really enjoyed that very quick fire Q&A. Guys, we'll be back on Monday. Big man, thanks for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you
to all the chasers as well, guys, from Italy, from Pakistan. We will see you in the next. Bye bye.